Hi, everyone. My name is Destiny.
I'm Elisa.
And my name is Evelyn.
This is Three Peas and a Podcast. What's up, guys? It's September. That means it's spooky season.
Yeah.
So to start off spooky season, we just decided to jump right into talking about all things paranormal and ghost related, and we're just going to break down some theories and some stories for you guys. So right off the bat, do you guys believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
So do I. So does that stem from, do you think your religion has anything to do with it, or is it based off of like personal experiences?
I think for me, it's more culture. I've never encountered a spirit, so we can talk about that later on, but we'll get back to that. But culture, they do believe in spirits. So they do have like the Llorona, which is basically like the weeping lady.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like a story where a lady like drowned her own kids. And so if you're ever like near a river at night or somewhere dark, she'll like appear to you, calling to you. So yes, definitely culture.
I feel like mine is also culture. I don't sit with like one religion. But in Filipino culture, it's very like, there's like a lot of forest spirits. We have a lot of like evil entities and stuff like that. So I grew up on the fact that like these are real things. So I think I never like questioned it because I'm like, yeah, that's what I was told. Like that's what I was taught. And everyone in my culture believes the same thing. Well, a majority of the people.
Mm-hmm. So do you guys want to say what we think ghosts are, or do you want to dive right into the theories?
Let's do scientific reasonings, and then we'll go what we believe in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we jotted down was verbal suggestion and the power of belief. It's simple, but it's really effective. That several studies have shown that people are more likely to report a location as being haunted if it's suggested to them that it is. Which I think is really true, because if you're going to like a haunted house or something and they tell you right off the bat, all this creepy stuff happened, that's already in your head.
Exactly.
The second one is electromagnetic fields. Michael Piersinger, a Canadian neurologist, he hypothesized that pulsed magnetic fields, which we can't detect on our conscious level, can cause unusual activity patterns in the brain temporal lobes and lead people to perceiving there's like a presence in the room.
I believe that, especially for those, just like you said in the last one, when you're like, oh, you're going to go to a haunted this. There's a lot of theories that like maybe that area is sitting on like a place where the electromagnetic fields are like fucked up.
Yeah.
So that's why people always have the same experience, because it's messing with the like unusual patterns of our brains. So that's another thing I really do believe, because especially if it's like one certain area, it's like, oh, have you ever second guessed like maybe it's the area that you're sitting in versus like what's happened in the area?
Yeah,
that's true. I think like also like a lot of the stuff like ghost hunters use, like the EMT, is supposed to pick up magnetic fields. So I didn't think that was like they correlated. But now looking into this, I'm like, oh, maybe that's why.
It's not very creditable. Because I used to watch like a lot of Ghost Hunter. I forgot what the show was called, but there were these two
Ghost Adventures.
No, the other one. There are two brothers who are like plumbers and electricians.
Ghost Hunter.
Oh yeah, I used to watch
that sounds like Super Mario Brothers.
But what I liked about the show is most of the time they would be able to debunk it. They'll just, because they're like electricians and stuff, so they'll be like, oh, there was a wire that was burned through. That's why your fan was turning on by itself. Or you have exposed wires in your basement. So obviously your hair is going to stand on end because there's magnetic currents that are exposed down here. Like they would do that most of the time.
Yeah, that's really
I used
good.
to watch that show too.
Is that Ghost Hunters?
No, I forgot. Ghost Hunters is like that whole team. But it was literally just two brothers. I forgot the name. That just reminds me of Rick and Morty. They're two brothers.
There's two brothers. I like that they gave like credible things you could like talk about, but they also were like, well, some things we can't explain.
Yeah, they always made sure like we can't debunk this one. So
that's cool.
So the next one is another theory that I really enjoy, where spirits or beings are just from an alternate dimension. So some people believe that there's like pockets of space and time that overlap. So sometimes you will interact with someone that could possibly be in another time than you, in another place than you. So to them, like, you're the ghost that they're perceiving. I like that theory a lot because it also makes ghosts seem less scary if it's just another person trying to live their life.
And you both are like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
It's me. It's like, oh, okay.
And from a religious standpoint, spirits and like angels and demons and stuff, they are from another dimension, just like the lore of it. So technically, we might be able to interact with that other dimension if you look at it from that angle.
That's crazy.
I really liked in Doctor Strange, is it Doctor Strange, where Doctor Strange is like moving shit around in the hospital, but you see it from the girl's point of view and it just looks like a ghost. I'm like, I love that. That's like such a good way of explaining it. Very simple and easy. Like he's obviously not a ghost. He's just in a different dimension right now. Yeah. And I was like, oh, beautiful.
That one's just a little harder to explain because people will say like, well, what dimension are you talking about? Like height, width, like, because we can only exist within, 3 dimensions? So is there a 4th dimension that we can perceive, but we can't actually physically experience? Like, so that's where you have to be more technical.
Is there only like 3 dimensions perceived?
I think so. Forward, backwards, up and down.
Oh, what the heck? That's
all
cool.
we can. So that's all we can do.
What the fuck does it mean when they say 4D chairs in movie theaters? They're gonna send us somewhere else.
They're just trying to make it more fancy than it actually is. Because a lot of people will argue that time is the 4th dimension.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, that's right.
What dimensions? It's so hard to like know how many there are, though. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Or even understand it. I don't really understand it.
Yeah, because I think my physics teacher showed us a video about that, and they were like, an ant has way more dimensions than we do because they can travel over tons of different surfaces and move in different ways. So like their perception of the world is like way different than ours because we can't do that.
Like
we're confined to like, think of like a 3-dimensional box. Like that's as far as we can go.
Oh yeah, that's true. Because an ant can climb on the ceiling and we can't. Yeah. We can't just be like, I'm just going up there now.
Dang, ants got it good. Going good.
I know. And then we have a few other ones that are kind of like, I think it's similar to what you were talking about, Destiny. Like the people go into a house and be like, it's this. So there's like one with like mold. Another common feature of supposedly haunted locations have mold growth. And mold growing inside your houses can like cause hallucinations and visions because of the toxins that it's releasing, which I think is a really good thing to even think about because I think before you're like, I have a ghost, to be like, I need to check if I have black mold growing somewhere in this house. Another one is like the carbon monoxide poisoning. And we were talking about this too, that like a lot of people don't even know that carbon monoxide is leaking into their house. Yeah. But one of the symptoms is also like hallucinations and not remembering. So people will like move their phone and then leave their room and come back and be like, I never moved my phone. But they don't have that memory because they have carbon monoxide poisoning. So I think that's also something really interesting to bring up because I think you should look at those things first before you're like, there's a ghost in this house.
It's funny too because a lot of people believe it's a ghost until somebody might suggest it's something else. Yeah. And then when they look into it, a lot of the times it's like mold or carbon monoxide.
Yeah, like that's what the 2 brothers did. They're like, your house is not haunted. Get your pipes checked. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then we also talked about how sleep paralysis could be why you see ghosts. So some scientists say ghosts are likely the result of sleep paralysis. This occurs when there's a disconnect between the body and the mind when you're going into or out of REM sleep. The result is a feeling of paralysis and waking dreams, often nightmares. Some people have visions where they feel something is trying to strangle or choke them, or they have a sense of impending doom. So I don't know. I feel like that's so true. For starters, I didn't really know about sleep paralysis until I was like 13 or 14 when it actually happened to me. And I can really see how that could be like a very like paranormal experience. It definitely is scary, and it would explain why you do see figures sometimes.
Yeah. I've also experienced sleep paralysis, and I think it's both. I like that we have some form of an explanation for it, but I also think we should keep into consideration the fact that it's always the same, like weird,
same thing,
gross, like evil, like experience. You know,
it is. Yeah, that's very
and
true.
I think
It's
everyone
really a
has the
positive
same
experience.
one. So there's a guy with a hat. There's one with a demon sitting on your chest, and there's another one that I don't remember.
It's like
but
a
lot of
lady.
people who, a lot of people who have sleep paralysis, it's like the same exact thing. So I'm like, oh.
And cross-culturally, there's like Renaissance paintings of sleep paralysis with like
my
demons
God, yeah,
sitting on your chest.
Oh
And
my
stuff.
God, that's so creepy.
The painting's so funny because he's all like, what? Like, he's so like, what are you looking at?
I think the scary thing too is strangle or choke them.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's, what the heck? That's so like,
that's a crazy.
It could also be like your airway, like you're not breathing. So your mind is like, someone's choking you, but it could just be like, you're not breathing because REM and your mind and head is not connected right now.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, but I don't know. I still find that creepy.
Yeah. No, Elisa, it's demons.
No, I think it's like creepy in the sense that like your body always tries to save itself, like, you know, and so for the to like I guess weakness, and it's like, well, you're gonna choke right now. It's very interesting.
A way to get out of sleep paralysis that I found, it makes it sound like I have a lot. I do, but is, you know, when you become hyper aware of your own breathing or your own tongue in your mouth, if you become really focused on that, your brain focuses on that one thing and you're able to get out of it. So if you're ever stuck in sleep paralysis, hyper focus on your breathing or your tongue or something that you never think about. Like, how many times do you blink in a minute? And then your brain's going to be like, I don't know. Wait, I need to focus on this now.
That makes sense.
And it snaps you out of it pretty fast.
But I will say that I've only had sleep paralysis in one house that we used to live in. And me, my mom, my siblings, we all thought that something weird was going on in that house. And that was the only house where I would have sleep paralysis and like really weird, like vivid dreams was only in that house.
Was it the one by the graveyard?
It was the one before that one.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I used to live by
really?
a graveyard, for those of you guys.
And it wasn't even like you go down the road. It's like you open her door and it's like...
I'd be like,
right
so you're going to make a right at the cemetery? And they'd be like, what?
Reals. I think the first time Dustin invited me, I was like, kind of like, okay, it can't be that close. I was skeptical. It literally is like guarded by a black gate, and then you see like an old other gate, and it's all like somebody decorated it in like Halloween like stuff. I'm like, that's how bad it was. I was like, oh my God.
The groundskeeper's there with like a bag of like those fake spider webs. He's like, it doesn't look scary enough.
Exactly. That was interesting.
Another one that we put here I think is really important to talk on is schizophrenia, dementia, and psychosis. So one 1994 study found a correlation between the belief in paranormal and the MPI's schizophrenia scale, but only for men. Scientists have speculated that ghosts, quote unquote, may be hallucinations caused by schizophrenia or other mental illnesses. And the same thing goes with dementia. People who have dementia also have symptoms of like, quote unquote, seeing ghosts or hallucinations. And then I also put here that traumatic experiences, brain tumors, strokes, HIV, also if you do a lot of drugs, can cause psychosis. So if you're like straight up a meth head, you're more likely to be seeing hallucinations or hearing things. And I brought this up because I get asked this a lot when I talk about ghost stories is, do you think you have schizophrenia? And I have an answer for that, but I'll answer it later.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think anything that can affect your brain opens up the possibility for seeing hallucinations and things of that nature, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, some people believe also like the brain can, like, since we don't know much about it, you're also seeing stuff that we can or we're supposed to see, but we haven't like looked into it. So it might be that too.
A lot of people that do drugs also say that. They're like, well, I opened a part of my mind that you couldn't, and that's why I could see it. And that's why I wanted to bring that up, because I'm like, okay, I can see your thought process in that. Like, yeah.
But by opening your brain, I think you're influenced by that drug. I don't think there's like a chamber of your brain that gets unlocked like a video game. I don't think it's like that. I think
Like Avatar chakras. You have now seen ghosts.
It's like you're fucking with a part of your brain. Like,
yeah. No, I also agree with that.
For me, schizophrenia is something I would also like look up into more.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good TED talk about someone who has schizophrenia. Her hallucinations are very like, I would think that's paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100, she was talking about it. I don't know if I could link it or whatever, but she was talking about it and it's like she sees the same one. So of course, like if you've never been diagnosed with schizophrenia, you would think like a little girl is haunting you. But in actuality, she's like, no, it turned out to be like a hallucination and it happened during like the most stressful times in her life. So I'm like, oh, okay. See, that makes sense to me.
Because your brain is extremely powerful. Like, I think I read an article that says, when you dream, your brain is just taking things you've already seen and like mixing it together to create something new. Something that you think is new is not actually new. Or your brain interprets your emotions about something in like a visual way. So that's why people interpret their dreams. And it usually just leads to like, oh, you're really stressed out about work. That's why you dreamt about your teeth falling out. Like, it's like stuff like that.
But you said we're gonna, we'll talk into that later, I guess. Like, what's the difference between being schizophrenic and actually
Yeah, I'm
believing?
going to talk about it because I get that question a lot when I tell my ghost stories.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold up. Hold up, I got some evidence.
We also talked about blind spots. So if you ever see something spooky out of the corner of your eye, then turn to see nothing there, you know that sometimes our peripheral vision just isn't that accurate. As Psychology Today explains, each eye has a blind spot about 18 degrees to either side. Our brain compensates for our peripheral vision that can't see, making guesses about what we're looking at. And its editing is highly biased by expectations, history, context, and desires. The problem is sometimes our guesses are wrong, and we think we see things that aren't actually there. And some scientists say that ghosts can be explained by these wrong guesses.
I believe this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where I was like, what was that? And I'm like, it probably was nothing. Like, it probably literally was nothing.
We all wear glasses, so our visions are fucked up.
Yeah.
So I
don't trust
I
my
do that
eyes.
too. And I do the same thing. Or like, my eyes have, do you guys have like floaters? Or like pockets of light? I think that's what they call it, floaters. So sometimes I'll just chalk it up to that.
Yeah, we're just like floating in your eye, and you're like, okay. Thought you were something, but you're not.
I think it is like a theory called dark people.
Shadow people.
Like something like that. Yeah, where you see stuff, of like the corner of your eye and it's like a black figure like rushing away. So I really feel like that's something to do with like our blind spots too.
Yeah.
But we can also talk about that like in another paranormal video because you never know.
So according to liveabout.com, there are several different explanations and theories about different types of ghosts and their existence. So the first one is probably the most popular in terms of like TV shows that you watch, where they're called residential hauntings. Some ghosts appear to be recordings on the environment in which they once existed. These types of ghosts do not interact with or seem to be aware of the living. Their appearance and actions are always the same. They are like spirit level recordings that replay over and over again.
So, like, for example, the Whaley's house, which is like a famous house in San Diego, California, where a lot of people are like, I see this person all the time. It's usually the same exact figure doing the same exact thing by various of people.
And it's usually always like a Civil War soldier or like an old timey figure. You never see like a modern residential haunting.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Do you think because history has a lot of traumatic events which keep those types of spirits there?
I feel like that could be part of it. I also feel like the way they passed on was so traumatic that that's the only way maybe they can cope. Like they can't pass on.
Yeah.
So that's also another topic. Passing on.
I feel like we probably should have did that first because I don't believe that there's such a thing as like unfinished business. Like as fucked up as life is, I feel like your time to go is your time to go. So I believe that maybe because of like negative energy, someone's spirit can be stuck to something, or because of like if they're the passing of like a loved one, they can be attached to you. But the idea of like you were destined to be a doctor, but you died before that happened, so now you're just stuck on Earth, I don't believe in that.
I always thought of it as the soul or the energy or whatever you want to call it is stuck because they can't accept it type of thing, or they don't know that they passed, versus
that makes more
the
sense.
universe being like, no, you have unfinished business. It's more like they think they have unfinished business. But then like the universe is like, nah, you died. you need to move on.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's how I see it anyways.
I don't know. A lot of times those deaths are really like tragic, where it's
they don't know that they died. It could be like a flash, like a flash in World War II, and they're like, oh, I'm still living. They didn't know they just died from like a bomb.
Oh my gosh,
that makes sense.
Wouldn't that be so creepy? Like in a time loop
of what they're doing
before passing.
But I also think if you've died in a traumatic event, you would be relieved of that, of life. Like my mom's had a near-death experience, and she said it was the most peaceful thing that she's ever experienced.
That is so creepy.
If you finally have freedom of whatever affliction, why would you want to be stuck to it?
What I'm saying is that maybe they didn't know. Like it was so sudden that they weren't aware that they were having that they were dying. So they were reliving it like, I am still living. I didn't know that I was like, they weren't on their deathbed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I don't want to put a religion into this, but I feel like some people don't believe that they're going anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that could be a possibility.
That. Yeah, neither did I. That's a good point.
It's really sad, but I like that.
Accepting.
Yeah. Because some people believe that when you die, your brain kind of goes into a fail-safe mode, and it shows you what you want to see or what you believe you're going to see. Mm-hmm. So, like, for the people that think, like, of heaven and hell or whatever, that's what they're going to see as they're dying. Mm-hmm. Or people who are more focused on like the way that they lived and like their loved ones and stuff, that's what they're going to see. Like my brother was almost in a car accident that killed him, and he said I was the last person that he saw. Oh, so it's like it's connected to whatever I guess
your brain focuses on.
Yeah, you're closest to.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense in a way. If ghost theories were real, that would make sense why some can pass on and then some can't.
Oh my God, we are scientists. No, I'm just kidding.
I hope anyone who's listening is jotting this down. So the next type of ghost is messengers. These kinds of ghosts may be the most common. These spirits usually appear shortly after their deaths to people close to them. They are aware of their deaths and can interact with the living. They most often bring messages of comfort to their loved ones to say that they are well and happy and not to grieve for them. These ghosts appear briefly and usually only one. It is as if they intentionally return with their messages for the express purpose of helping the living cope with their loss. Mm. And I have a couple of family members have told me this. I didn't experience it, but I was there when it was happening. I was probably in kindergarten. I was like 4 or 5 years old. And this was probably the first time that I experienced like a death and kind of had to deal with like what death was because I was so young.
Yeah.
My sister's friend, who was also our neighbor, she got in like a bad car accident and she passed away. So my sister was standing by our bedroom door and she was just like hysterically crying. Mm-hmm. And then out of nowhere, she stops and she's just like, Destiny, come over here. I'm like sitting on the floor, like drawing or something. And she like grabs me and she like puts me right where she's standing. And she's like, look down the hallway. And it was just like a dark hallway. Yeah. And she was like, can you see that? And I was like, no, I'm only like 4 or 5 years old. So I'm like, no, I'm just staring at like a dark hallway.
Yeah.
And so she's just like, okay, go sit down. And I was like freaking out.
You're like, okay.
Like, what? Like I was, again, I'm so young and I was still processing her friend's death because the week before that we were hanging out with her and she was giving me candy, like Mexican candy and stuff. So to me, I was just like, wait, your friend is gone? Like I just saw her a week ago. Yeah. So then later on, she sat down next to me and she said, I saw my friend. And she told me that she was going to be okay. Oh. And so that's why she told me, like, can you see her too? And then she just told me not to tell my mom. Oh. Which, again, I don't know why she wouldn't want to tell my mom because my mom's a pastor. But I guess she just wanted to keep it between us. Yeah. But that was one instance where it was like, I don't know.
That is very, like, significant, too. Very clear and significant.
Yeah, because she wanted someone else to see what she saw, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And then another messenger story that I have is my mom. She had a brother pass away way before I was born. So I have an uncle that I never met because he died way before I was born. And he died in a pretty tragic way. He got pushed into a jacuzzi and hit his head on the floor of the jacuzzi. So he passed away, and my mom said that she was in her bedroom, and obviously she was crying. She was grieving for him. And then she said that he came into her room and told her to stop crying, that he was going to be okay. And I think he told her that heaven, or the place that he was at, was like a beautiful place, so she shouldn't be crying for him.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that he told him for her to keep her faith so that he could see her again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was pretty much just telling her, like, heaven's a real place type thing. And then he left.
Yeah. Damn, those are really strong, like, stories too.
Yeah. And so it's and they come from, like, my family, so it's hard for me to just be like,
no, that didn't happen.
You didn't experience that. You know what I mean? So it also makes the most sense.
Everyone in my family has the same messenger that comes and visits them when they're kids. I never met my grandpa from my mom's side, like, ever. But when I was younger, I was able to tell my mom, like, everything about him before my mom told me anything about him. So,
wow.
Like, I knew his favorite chips and I knew what he was doing. And I always told my mom, like, oh, he came and visited me today. Like, I was that creepy, scary kid that, like, did shit like that. And then I experienced it with my niece and nephew. They did the same thing to me, and they told me, like, oh, grandpa did this. And I was like, grandpa, like my dad? That's what I was thinking. And they're like, no, like, grandma's dad. And I was like, what? And I, like, was on the other side. Like, I was my mom, and I was like, that's who told you that? And then my niece was just like, oh, like, grandpa told me his name. I was like, no one has ever told you his name before. So, like, why do you know his name? So it's interesting because I'm, like, I'm kind of experimenting with all, like, the kids in our family just to see if they would bring it up before anyone brings it up. So that's one that, like, visits kids most in our family.
After you guys grow up, is there ever that occurrence again?
Yeah, me and my nephew see. He visits only after my mom visits his grave, but my mom loves doing this thing where she doesn't tell anyone that she visits his grave. And so I'll see someone and I'm like, hello? And my mom's like, oh, I visit grandpa on Sunday. And I was like, oh my God.
Girl.
And my nephew recently just started, like, he freaked out and came to me. He's like, there's someone in the living room. And I was like, grandma visited grandpa on the weekend. So he's just checking up on us. And he's like, what does that mean? And I was like, just like, don't pay attention to him and go back to your room.
Dang.
So, yeah. And I feel like now that I talked about him, he's going to pop up. Be like, what? Am I talking shit?
Well, at least it's a healthy ghost.
I'm going to talk about that when we
go a positive ghost.
To our questions, because I have some theories too.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting too is that before this, I thought, like, all ghosts were the same. It's interesting to see, like, there's a difference between these ghosts. You have to, like, think about, like, why there would be a difference, you know? Like, it's also interesting, like, why are messengers different from residential hauntings? Like, how come they can communicate?
Yeah. And I think it stems from the theory that as long as you continue to celebrate that person or think about that person, you're giving them some type of energy. So I think that's probably why it's connected to that. My sister's father passed away, I think it's 2 years now. He had, like, a sudden heart attack, which is crazy because he was only probably, like, 50. He's a little younger than my mom, so he's probably in, like, his early 50s. He was a really fit guy, and he just had a heart attack, like, suddenly. So we had to move everything out of his apartment, and a lot of his stuff was in our place. And then for the week after that, like, every time I would go to school or I'd be walking somewhere, it always felt like someone was walking behind me or someone was walking towards me. And it was to the point where, like I'll be looking down at my phone and I'll see someone coming towards me, and I'll, like, physically move out of the way so they can walk past me and no one's there.
Yeah.
Or, like, I'll feel such a strong presence behind me that I'll look and no one's there. And I did that, like, for a whole day, to the point where I was just like, what the hell is this feeling? Yeah. But it wasn't a bad feeling. So that's why I was kind of just like, well, maybe it's her dad. because even though he wasn't my biological father, like our family, we were also really close.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably just thought it was him. And my sister said that she would smell his cologne sometimes, and she was still grieving with his loss, so we put a lot of his stuff in storage. So it wasn't like she was smelling the cologne that was on his clothes.
Yeah.
All of it was packed away, and she said she would still like smell his cologne sometimes.
That goes with the theory that Evelyn put here, the interactive personalities where you can still hear them or smell them or anything like that. So that's like another quote unquote type of ghost.
I also like that your mom mentioned that when her brother passed away and visited her, he talked about like heaven and like paradise. So again, religion. I don't know. I'm not skeptical about religion. I'm just very, I don't know. I always feel like there's more than one, but it's interesting to see that if there is like religion, there's peace to the soul.
Yeah. That's basically what it is. It's just saying like where I am now, it's better, you know? So and I like that because it does help you cope with people passing on, that they're in a better place than where we are now. It's just easier to accept that, you know. And instead of thinking of death as like dying, it's like you're just going from one place to another.
Yeah,
that's true.
Okay, so poltergeist. This type of haunting is the most feared by people because it has the greatest ability to affect our physical world. Poltergeists are blamed for unexplained noises such as wall banging, rapping, footsteps, and even music. They take on possessions and hide them, only to return them later. They turn on faucets, slam doors, turn on and off lights, flush toilets. They throw things around the room.
So that's like the ghost. I feel like people in their house are always like, I have a ghost in my house. I feel like that's what it is. It's I didn't even know that's what poltergeist means. I thought poltergeist just meant ghost, but like a better term.
I think it's from what I read. I didn't put it in here, but they seem to be like the most malicious ghosts. Yeah. I don't know why. People were saying that that's why sometimes people think there's like demons in their house. So I don't know. That's a good question why they would be malicious.
I think it's like territorial. It's usually like, oh, we moved into this house and like the ghost doesn't want us in this house. Or it's like you dug up somebody's grave and now they're pissed. It's like stuff like that.
I also think that I've been seeing it a lot lately on TikTok. People be fucking with the spirit world and they don't like it.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people like play with Ouija boards and stuff like that, and then they question why shit is happening to them. It's like, yeah, you piss them off. Like, why reach out to them but not do anything about it? They don't want to be bothered, type of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you're on vacation and you got people fucking bugging you, if you're in a place of rest or you're in a place that's better than what was before and you got people like,
it's like getting work emails on a weekend. I don't want to fucking talk to you. So I feel like that's one of them too. I see a lot of people who just do it for the video and then later they come on and be like, this happened to me and I don't know why. And it's like, well, you fucked with something that you don't understand. So
yeah.
For real. I think the crazy thing too is I don't know. I think with poltergeist, you never see that person. You always just like hear like something hitting.
Oh wait, so poltergeist
like
means
crashing.
You don't see them too? It's just their actions?
It didn't. I don't know. It didn't say it in this is just from my theory. It didn't say anything about seeing them.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like you can see them sometimes.
I don't know. I don't want to look up into it too. I'm like too scared.
Yeah, I feel like, because it also, like, again, if we're going based off of the energy theory, it takes a lot of energy
to push
pick something up. Or so it's going to take a lot more energy to physically manifest. So maybe like the only amount of energy they have is to fucking scratch you or something.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to the questions. From your experience, have you had quote unquote paranormal experiences where you think there was a scientific explanation for this?
That's usually my first go-to.
Yeah.
But I think all of my ghost stories, I was with someone else. So I'm not the only one perceiving it.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to touch on that just because, yes, I always think scientific explanations first. I always think it's in my head, or I'm like, I watch a scary movie, so that's why I think something's going to happen to me. Or it's like the house settling. Like if I just turned on the AC and then I turned it off and I hear something, yeah, it's probably the fucking house settling. And then I always get asked, because I have a lot of ghost stories. Like I'm literally only going to tell 2 within this podcast because we don't have enough time. I always get asked, like, do you think you have schizophrenia? Is it psychosis? Like, do you think there's something wrong with you? And for a long time, I did question that, and I like wondered if I should go get checked. But I have had definite things that has happened, and then I never told another soul, and then they say the same thing. They're like, wait, did X, Y, and Z happen? And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Like, you just, I feel like it's difficult to be like, it's schizophrenia or it's psychosis when I didn't tell anyone the story, and then they experienced the same thing in the same house that I'm in. And I'm like, thank you. You just clarified what I saw was what I saw, not something that I made up. Because if I have a hallucinations, Destiny and Evelyn shouldn't be able to see them. But if I have a hallucination and then both of them see it, I'm like, all right, okay, rewind. There's no way it's in my head.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's my explanation to everyone who wants to say if I'm schizophrenic.
Okay, so we're at the 40-minute mark, so I guess we'll just dive right into our own ghost stories.
Yeah.
Should Evelyn go first?
Yes, I think everyone should go first.
So for me personally, I've never had like a ghost experience. I have had like paranormal experiences, but stuff like that hasn't happened to me. And it's interesting too, because whenever stuff happens, Elisa and Destiny can sense it more than I can. So I don't know if you guys remember when we went to that hotel that like we booked at the last minute. And I remember Elisa saying like stuff was moving around. Yeah. And I remember thinking, oh, it's just like us, like we're not putting our stuff away, or we're not
busy con weekend.
But, yeah. And Alyssa was like, I feel like there's something weird about this room that we stayed in. And the whole time I was like, that's crazy. Like I don't feel.
Also, our badge went missing, and I 100% told everyone like, hey, let's put all our badges here, and mine went missing.
Yeah. And so I want to say I do believe there's a God, but I don't believe there's just one. So it could be that my faith isn't. I always tie a lot of things back to religion, because I that would be for another podcast. But I think if you believe in one thing, you are to experience more things from that one thing. But because I don't have a set belief, I am not like prone to whatever happens to me, to like those experiences. That's my theory.
And that makes sense. Like me and my siblings would always joke like, why can't we just be those Christians that go to church on Sunday and clap and then we're good to go? Why do we have to deal with the demons, and why do we have to do that? And so I think for sure there's some truth to that, Evelyn.
I feel like that too. Whatever you put your energy
is what you get
into,
out.
I can totally
get back, for sure. I think I'll go next, and then Elisa can finish us off. This story actually has to do with all three of us. It was probably our sophomore year of high school. This was probably the first time that I actually hung out with Elisa and Evelyn. So we were still kind of new friends, a new friend group. Yeah. And so we had just finished our homecoming dance, I think, and we're spending the night at Elisa's house. So we like get in and out. We go back to her house. We're just eating. We're chilling, and we're sitting on like the bar stools. Elisa's standing in her kitchen, like eating the in and out, and we're just talking. And then out of nowhere, Elisa looks behind me. She like stopped eating. She looks behind me, and then she's just like, "Let's go upstairs." And so like we just casually go upstairs. But I remember kind of looking behind me into her living room, and I was kind of just like, why did she do that? There was like a brief pause in the conversation where I kind of noticed she was focusing on something else. But I kind of just brushed it off because, again, like we were a new friend group and I didn't know her that well to question her behavior like that. So we go upstairs and everything's chill. We're playing Just Dance, like everything's dope. And then we go to sleep. So me and Evelyn are sleeping in Elisa's bed, and Elisa's sleeping on the floor, and everything's normal. And we just go to sleep. And I remember I had this really vivid dream where the dream was, it was the morning after, and like light was coming through the window. Evelyn's in the same spot she was on the bed. Elisa's in the same spot as she was on the floor. Like everything was fine. But then I looked up and there was this little boy like standing in front of her closet, and he was just staring at me. Like he wasn't staring at me like in a mean way. He was kind of like surprised. Like he was looking at me like, you can see me type stuff. And I was kind of just looking at him because I was still in bed in the dream. So I was kind of just looking at him like, why the fuck is there a little boy like standing in front of Elisa's like closet? That's so weird. And then we woke up. And we woke up, and like literally the same way we woke up is exactly how we were in my dream. Like, it was so trippy.
Oh, wow.
So then we wake up, and then Elise was just like, hey, how did you guys sleep? And I was like, this is going to sound really fucking weird, but I had a dream that was literally like this. We all woke up, but there was a little boy like standing in front of your closet, and he was staring at me. And it was like really weird.
Oh gosh, it's scary.
And then Elisa, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, so that was my old house, and this is the first house that I started seeing ghosts, and it's not side, like from the side of peripheral. I'll see them straight on. And when I first moved in, I've never beforehand, like all my family used to talk like, I saw this and I saw that. And I always chalked it up to like, it's literally your imagination. Like, I think you guys are, since we all believe in it and like that's in our family that we see ghosts, I think people automatically think like, this happened to me, so it's obviously a ghost before thinking of any scientific reasoning. But in this house, I kept seeing straight on like a person living in the house with me was a little boy and a mom. Or a woman, I guess. And I could tell you how they looked, what they were wearing, and everything like that. It was that clear. I told it to my parents, and they were like, it's your imagination. You're thinking of it. And then one day, my dad went to the neighbors, because we were new, so we were just like trying to get to know the neighbors. And my dad came home, and he was talking to my mom in Tagalog, but I heard from upstairs, he was like, okay, Elisa isn't joking. Like, she's not lying. He found out from the neighbors that the person who originally owned the house, that my room, the little boy died in from a heart attack or like a stroke. And then the mom later died a couple years ago from like, they said heartache, but we're assuming it was like depression or something like that. And then the dad ended up selling the house. And so my mom told my dad told my mom, like, she literally got the ages right. Because I told them like, oh, he's like 6 or 7. And the boy was in 3rd grade. Yeah, that's what
he looked like.
Yeah. And then when Destiny told me that, I was like, oh, I have a ghost in this house. Like,
yeah, and I was fucking freaking out because again,
I didn't tell her though.
Suggestion, like if she would have told me before we went to sleep, then obviously I would have dreamt of the little boy. But I saw him before she told me about it, so that's why I was like freaking out. I was like, "What the fuck?" And I'm the type of person to where like I don't see things, but like when I'm asleep, I'll have like really weird dreams, or I'll have like really vivid dreams that I can't tell apart from reality. So that like freaked me the fuck out.
And I did that with everybody who came into that house. I didn't tell anyone because I wanted to see like if what I'm actually seeing was like real, just because again, like, is it schizophrenia? Is it psychosis? But when my dad cleared it with my neighbors, it's not like I yelled at my neighbors like, I see a little boy in this house. Like, yeah, I didn't tell them that. I didn't tell Destiny. I've had significant others come in and they tell me like, dude, there's like a little boy in this house. And then I tell them the story. Like, yes, there is. Like, thank you for solidifying what I thought.
So, yeah, that can back up how the whole schizophrenia.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way it's schizophrenia because Destiny saw it. And then my partners have seen it before. So I'm like, yep.
But you know, it's interesting, too. I think I stayed over once, too, and you told me the little boy was, like, really close to me, like, to my face. And even then, I still didn't see or sense anything.
Yeah. Evelyn has straight up, the woman was, like, crying in my room. And I was like, Evelyn, how are you feeling today? She's like, it's good. And I'm like, it's not good. I'm like, it's not good.
I literally don't see them.
Like, how can I get what you have, Evelyn? Like, let's switch.
Yeah,
like,
seriously. Elizabeth just crying her heart out. And you're like, this anime is dope. And I'm like, what the fuck?
That's probably so true.
I was so mad. I have to prep everyone first. So I think I've said it before. I see ghosts or spirits pretty like frequently. And again, I've talked about like schizophrenia and psychosis and all that, and how I've debunked it into what I believe what I see are actually like from the spirit world and stuff like that. It's also part of my culture, so I'm not that weirded out by it, but it's like a daily occurrence for me. So I picked a story that was just too... I picked this story because when I tell people, I'm always like, there's no scientific reasoning behind why this happened. It's just what happened. So this one happened, I think, like a month ago in my current house. And in this current house, I don't really see a lot of things that stick to the house. It's just kind of like, I call them passerbyers, where they're only there for like a day. So downstairs, I don't even know how to start this. So downstairs, I have hold up. All right, so I have a niece and she's like 5 years old, and I was playing with her, and she wanted to play hide and go seek. And so I was like, yeah, let's play hide and go seek. But
it always starts like that.
I know, literally. And mind you, this isn't like dead in the night. No, it was like fucking the afternoon. It was like 5 or 6 o'clock. Everyone's home, so it's not like we're playing by ourselves. Like there's a lot of noise and stuff happening in our house. Like it's not like just me and her playing in an abandoned house. Like it's my house. So I was like, okay, let's just play downstairs so I'm not like running up and down the stairs looking for her. And she's like, okay. So we're already on round 3, and my niece keeps hiding in the same exact place. So I have a downstairs closet, which is like our coats and shoes closet. But the thing with the closet is that it's the size of our stairs. So that means like you can walk all the way into the closet, but it kind of gets tapered down a little bit because it's underneath the stairs. And then when you're at the very end of the closet, you're like crouching and you can turn to your left and go into underneath the stairs. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So there's like a corner pocket that you can't see when you're just staring into the closet. And we just put like Christmas stuff. So it's 2 big Christmas boxes, and they're red. And I think that's important to put. And they're red.
Okay.
I count and I'm like, ready or not, here you come. And I go straight to the closet because she's been hiding there the last 2 times. So I'm like, why would she change what she's doing? And I move all the sweaters and the clothes, and I call in, and I'm like, oh, I see her. So I'm looking into the closet, and there's like a wall where all the Christmas stuff is hiding. So I can't see the boxes. But when you sit crisscross or when kids sit crisscross applesauce, their legs are up, right? And so I can see a leg, and it's like, it's just there. And I go, Kira, I see you. And when I see it, it starts like bouncing, like they're excited or they're nervous. And I was like, I found you, like playing with her. And I hear her go, no, you didn't. And I was like, yes, I did. I found you. But I didn't want to climb all the way into the closet because I'm like, bitch, I did this 3 times already. Like, just come out. And I was just like, Kira, come out. And she's like, you're going to have to come get me. And I was like, no, like, Kira, come out. And when I'm talking, I'm looking at this leg because I'm like, this is my niece's leg. It's the size of a 5-year-old, and it's pale and it's white because my niece is white. But, and it's bouncing. It's like super excited. And I'm like, Kira, come out. And she's like, fine. There's a room next to the closet that Kira comes out of. She's like, what are you looking at? Because I'm like yelling into the closet, but she thinks I'm yelling into her room because it's like right next to each other. And I look at Kira, and I fucking so fast look into the closet. And when I said, Kira, the leg went up behind the wall.
No.
And
God.
I literally slammed that door. I slammed that door, and I looked at Kira. I'm like, we're not playing anymore. Let's go eat dinner.
Yeah.
And my mom was sitting in the kitchen, and I walk out, and she's like, what did you just see? I was like, there's someone. I was like, I didn't say it because I didn't want to say my niece, but I looked at her. I'm like, she wasn't in the closet. And I for sure 100% saw a little kid sitting in the closet.
No.
For me, I tell that story just because it doesn't make sense. There's nothing white or looks like a person back there. It's 2 red boxes. And the fact that it was coherent, it was reacting to what I was saying. Yeah. It was very like, when I called out the name and I think it realized that it's not my niece, that shit hid from me. Like it pulled the leg up so it wasn't bouncing anymore. And I was like, all right, okay, I don't want to play this game anymore. And that literally happened like a month ago.
Ew.
Yeah, so that's my life.
So do you think it was just some ghost kid that was trying to play with you?
Yeah, 100%. I didn't feel any like malice towards it, but I also have a really good theory that I see them a lot, and I don't know who's good or bad, and I don't know. I don't fuck with them, period. I don't try talking to them. True. I don't do Ouija boards. I don't do any of that. I never even reach out to them when I see it. Like, I don't ever talk to them like the way you see in like ghost shows and stuff like that. I'm very like, I'm going to respect your spot so you respect me, because just because they look good, I'm not going to make that assumption that they are.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing. That's what I've been told like my whole life is just you just don't fuck with it. Just don't fuck with that stuff.
Yeah, so people could be like, maybe he was looking for you to help him play. I'm like, that's not my job.
No. Yeah.
That's
no
not
thanks.
my job. I'm glad that she had fun, but that's not my job.
Yeah, no.
So,
no,
yeah.
thank you.
Do you think a lot of ghosts pass by in your house? Like,
I live right by Mission. So, yeah. I live right by a Mission that they recently just dug up a bunch of shit because they build new houses on it. And ever since that happened, there's like a lot of spirits that just kind of walk through our house.
Yeah.
But they don't stick. It's never the same spirit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So does that bother you? Like, as long as they don't bother you, you're like chill?
That one was the first time that I don't get scared very easily. Like, I was telling Destiny, because we took a break, I was telling Destiny that a lot of my friends know when I see something. Because, like, I'll stop in the conversation. I'm not looking at them. I'm not interacting with the conversation, and then I'll just come back. So I think a lot of people who know me, they're like, oh, she just saw something. I'm okay with it, but there's certain times like that where I was interacting with it, which scared me because I'm like, I don't like them knowing that I can see them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that scared me, and that's why I ended it really quickly. I said it out loud too, like, we're no longer playing.
Yeah.
Like, to my niece and to whoever the fuck that was in the closet. I'm like, we're not playing anymore. So, don't play hide and go seek. Just don't do it.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
My parents are really big on you respect everything. So if you ever like spend the night with me and we're in a new place, you always hear me being like, please don't touch me. I'll respect you. If you go hiking with me, I do the same shit too. Like, oh, I'm so sorry that I'm in your area. Cause I don't know what the fuck is there. And I'm not going to be rude or disrespectful.
Yeah. And that's good. And that's also how I approach other people's beliefs. Like, even if I don't personally believe in it, I respect that you believe that. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to
fight you on it.
I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to, if you believe that, chill. I just don't want to be a part of it. Like, my brother told me one time that he spent the night at a friend's house and he had no idea that she read tarot cards until she actually pulled them out.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, can I read your cards? And obviously he was like, fuck that. So then they go to sleep. He's sleeping on her couch. And my oldest brother is the same as me, where we'll be like woken up in the middle of the night for a strange reason, or we'll have like weird dreams of stuff. So he said he woke up in the middle of the night and he went to go check on his friend, and he said he opened her bedroom door and there was this figure standing over her in her bed.
No.
Like, the figure's feet were on either side of her chest.
Oh,
and he was
my God.
looking down at her. And he just...
Was it like just a black figure?
I think he said it was like a shadowy figure, but it was also dark in her room. But yeah, he said it was like a figure that was standing over her. And he said he just dipped. Like, he was like, that's the type of shit that you got in your house. That's what you put on you. He said he called that fucking Uber and dipped. Like,
oh my gosh, same.
He was like, I'm not sleeping in that house.
Imagine the friend, like, where did you go? Where I woke up in the morning, you're gone.
Oh, gee, like, no.
It's just not worth it. And I was like, yeah, like anything, even if it's like tarot cards or something like that, I truly believe like you shouldn't mess with that if you don't know. And then two, you don't know what's gonna come like into that like zone of like peace you have within you.
Like I don't believe in that, but there's a good enough people that do believe in that, and that's enough proof for me to think whether or not I want to be involved. You know what I mean? Like, so the people who are just like, well, I don't believe in it, so I'll do it. It's like where there's cultures of people who practice this stuff. So even if it doesn't resonate with you, it resonates with them. So if they tell me, I'm off that. So you guys want to just cut this and then start the next hour of just stories?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So come back for part 2, because we're just going to keep diving into this stuff. We're going to keep talking. All right. So thank you guys so much for listening. Join us for part 2.